Hi, everybody, and welcome to Dread Central's Pride Month video content. We are releasing all sorts of exciting queer pride-related stuff this month, and today is no different. With me is Dread Central staff writer Tyler Doupé. Tyler, how's it going?
Doing great. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. I'm very excited to talk about the movie that we are bringing in today, especially under a gay lens. So I guess I'll just say our topic. We are getting into Wishmaster 2, directed by Jack Shoulder, the director of A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, Freddy's Revenge. And we're going to take a look at why this movie is queer. But before we do, Tyler, can you just reintroduce yourself to the Dread Central audience?
Yeah, of course. As you mentioned, I am a staff writer at Dread Central, and I am also the managing editor at wickedhorror.com.
Amazing. So when I asked you to talk about Wishmaster 2, were you surprised that I would bring it in through a pride lens?
I don't think I was surprised, but I also wasn't like, oh yeah, certainly. That's some gay stuff there. I think that it kind of vaguely clicked a little bit like, oh yeah, that might be worth another watch. I think there probably is some subtext or maybe some more overt stuff that
This is something that I've been wanting to write about on Dread Central for a really long time. In fact, in my WordPress drafts, I've had an article by the name of Wishmaster 2, More Queer Panic from the Director of Freddy's Revenge for about a year. So I'm really happy that you're helping me bring this to life. I think the first thing I want to get into today is the Wishmaster franchise as a whole. What is your relationship with it?
I enjoyed the first two films. I think I've seen 3 and 4 once, maybe each, and I think that's enough. I think each film that you get deep into the canon sort of corresponds with the decline in quality.
Oh yeah, and that does sometimes happen in horror franchises, and this is no different. If I was to ask you, what is Wishmaster about? Specifically the first film. Would you be able to give me an answer on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's about a djinn, a genie who is awoken from slumber of some sort, hibernation, and comes to Earth with I guess he was already on Earth, but comes to life, comes back to life, is reawakened with the ability to grant wishes, but the wishes come at a cost to the wisher.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's very like, be careful what you wish for energy. We're going to twist your words and then kill you in really horrible, grotesque ways. Something I love about the first Wishmaster movie is that it's sort of like a brawl of every horror icon. Does that sound familiar?
Sure, Robert Englund, Kane
Yeah.
Hodder, I believe Tony Todd's in there, if I'm not mistaken.
They're all in there, yeah. Do you remember the Kane Hodder death? Or do you need a reminder?
What he's a security guard, isn't he? He kind of has like a little bit of a mullet. I don't necessarily remember his death, but I remember his presence in the film. So please remind me.
I think he gets turned into glass and then shatters. That is,
right.
That is my memory. You know what I love about the Wishmaster movies?
What?
Creative deaths. It kind of is on nowhere near Nightmare on Elm Street, but it's giving you a similar energy.
Certainly. I think that's fair to say. Final Destination kind of feel a little bit to it too. That's another franchise that's really leaned into creative send-offs, I think.
Yeah, definitely. So in terms of Wishmaster 2, how would you describe this movie plot-wise if you had to?
We have kind of a flawed protagonist who is a thief and a murderer of sorts who awakens the djinn, brings the djinn to life, and he goes to work harvesting souls so that he can reign supreme or something like that. I mean, it's kind of a loose storyline that doesn't waste a lot of time explaining itself or getting too in depth. And a lot of the roles it kind of plays fast and loose with too, like the guy that he freezes to death doesn't say, I wish you would freeze me to death, or he just says freeze. That's all he says. He doesn't make a wish, but somehow the rules don't really apply in that situation. And that's kind of the attitude of the whole movie, I think. Just do whatever's convenient.
Yeah, they're flexible. Would you mind if I tell you a little bit about why I picked this movie to talk about through a queer lens?
I can think of nothing I'd love more.
Well, so the director of this film is Jack Shoulder. You are well aware, but in case anyone needs to be reminded, this is the guy that directed A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, Freddy's Revenge. He also, I think his first film was Alone in the Dark. That was the first New Line Cinema movie, or one of the first. So more importantly, this is the guy that brought us the gayest slasher of all time, Freddy's Revenge. And I always thought maybe that was a one-off. You hear this guy talk in the Never Sleep Again documentary series. It doesn't seem like he's gay. It doesn't seem like he did any kind of purposefully gay content in that Freddy movie, but yet it was so gay. And then when I watched Wishmaster 2 for the first time, I thought, whoa, this movie feels not only just very homophobic, very homoerotic. And then I saw it was the same director, and I've been a little bit obsessed with that bridge between the two films ever since. Am I leaving anything out about the legacy of Jack Shoulder?
I don't think so. I mean, you got Alone in the Dark, which is really a big one. And I think kind of an underrated slasher-esque film. And of course, the Nightmare 2 connection. I think you've hit the really key points.
I have never seen Alone in the Dark.
It's not bad. I mean, I would need to revisit it to really speak with any kind of authority, but the couple of times that I've seen it, I remember enjoying it. And it, to the best of my recall, it's the first slasher-esque film to feature a killer in a hockey mask.
Oh, whoa. Wow, they were just doing iconic movie after iconic movie in the early 80s. I'm wondering, why is Nightmare on Elm Street 2 so gay? Like, we talk about it all the time, but
there's a lot of reasons for that. If I'm not mistaken, I think I've actually done a whole editorial kind of diving into how it went from queer classic, or how it went from black sheep to queer classic. It's gay for so many reasons. Mark Patton is an out gay man, and he brought a certain degree of gay energy to it, I think. The screenwriter, of course, deliberately, finally, after how long, has kind of admitted to wanting to sort of create like a metaphor or sort of touch upon the AIDS crisis and, something sort of growing inside you that you can't control. Yeah. So I think, and I believe maybe the production designer was gay also. I could be wrong, but I mean, what about the probe game? The probe game in Jesse's closet, and there's just so many other little kind of like wink, nod, in jokes.
The Kate Bush poster on his wall. How gay is that?
Right, and so I think that to your point, Jack Shoulder has got to be the least observant straight man in the world, in terms of what is and isn't gay, because he really genuinely seemed to have no idea about any of that. Like I don't think he's making that up. I mean, I know that the screenwriter sort of denied any queer intention for a very long time, but I actually believe Jack Shoulder when he says that. I don't think he really put the pieces together, and I kind of wonder if it's the same with Wishmaster 2, because it's got all kinds of queer energy.
No, I agree 100%. So we'll get into it, but like, is it a coincidence that he's bringing this overtly gay energy into his films, or is this guy a little gay and just doesn't know it? Right? That seems to be my takeaway.
It's one of those things where like lightning never strikes twice, but in this case it did. So I don't know, I don't ever want to presuppose anyone's sexual preference or orientation, but it is slightly coincidental.
Definitely. You were talking earlier about that piece you wrote about how horror and the zeitgeist of horror sort of took A Nightmare on Elm Street 2 from this maligned gay entry into this camp classic gay entry. Do you sort of remember what that felt like? Do you remember that evolution?
I remember my late first husband actually speaking to the queer vibe in the film. I've always been into horror, but I really kind of like dove in my 20s. Like that was sort of my renaissance for like really becoming not just a fan, who was like, oh, I like A Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th, but someone that really wanted to dig deep and find, all of the horror content. And through that process, my first husband kind of helped me because he was a pretty big horror fan, and he was the one that sort of pointed that out to me, because I think I'd seen it maybe once, in my late teens or something like that, and I was still kind of grappling with my own sexuality, so I wasn't necessarily looking for queer vibes or anything like that. So I think a lot of it had sort of been lost on me the first time that I saw it. But yes, I definitely remember it being somewhat maligned, and oh, that's the gay one, kind of on a par with the the Friday the 13th without Jason. It's like everyone hates it because it's not what you expected it to be.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, I think as our society has evolved a little bit, maybe straight guys don't feel as much as they used to, like they have to say no homo after any time that something vaguely interpretable as homoerotic happens, that we're able to just kind of like have a laugh and have fun with it, and realize that just because you watch a movie with gay energy doesn't make you gay. And also that the only thing that makes you gay is actually being gay.
So we're thinking maybe the reason why the horror community is showing it a little bit more love maybe is because we're a little less homophobic. We're sort of evolving a little bit, and
100%.
Yeah, we're less threatened maybe by its queer undertones, and we can just enjoy it for the silliness that it is, because it's not a great film, but it certainly belongs in the Nightmare canon.
Yeah, and I don't think it's nearly as bad as it's been made out to be. I think that I think that it has an awful lot of subtext, which some of the Nightmare films really don't.
Yeah.
So I mean, on some levels it is a little deeper. It colors outside the lines and it plays fast and loose with the mythology, and there are plenty of things that are wrong with it, but I think there are also plenty of things that are kind of admirable and interesting and different and unique about it.
If you're okay with it, I kind of want to jump into what I find so queer about Wishmaster 2.
Certainly.
So the first thing I want to bring to the table is actor Andrew, help me if I'm saying this wrong.
Diboff or Diboff?
Diboff, Andrew Diboff, who plays the Djinn in the first Wishmaster and in Wishmaster 2. And I kind of think this guy is giving me a bit of a gay energy overall in this film. What's your opinion on that?
I would agree with that. I mean, I don't want to ever, paint with too broad of a stroke and say, oh, just because someone's well-dressed and, nicely put together, he has to be gay. No straight man could ever, present himself that way. But there is a kind of vaguely, he's a little bit of a dandy, he's well-dressed and polished and nicely put together. And he speaks very eloquently,
soft-spoken,
enunciates his words, kind of soft-spoken. So there are certain things that, one could interpret as queer about the character. He does make mention of being attracted to Morgana, the main character, when he's talking to her priest boyfriend, her boyfriend priest, but I mean, just because he says that he finds her attractive doesn't mean that he couldn't also find male characters equally attractive. And I mean, he's not even a human, he's a genie, he's a mythical creature, and I just think that he knows how to have a good time.
Yeah, if you're around for 3,000 years, which he keeps saying that he was, you're gonna have to find different ways to have fun. So I think he's thinking outside of the bottle. This movie is definitely super homophobic. I think I counted at least 5 to 6 uses of the word faggot, which to me also kind of was like, why all the faggot? Why all the homophobia? That actually is a smoke signal to me a little bit for, homoeroticism or queerness, because if you're not, if you're super uncomfortable with it and feel the need to bring it up all the time, I have to ask why.
Thou doth protest too much, as the saying goes.
Yeah. And it's, like in the 90s and in the 80s, whenever the F-bomb gets dropped, it's kind of like a jump scare. I'm still like rattled by it because I'm just not used to it anymore.
Sure.
A lot of the homoerotic or vaguely queer moments did stem out of homophobic moments, but slowly but surely they became more and more just gay. There was a line where a cop is investigating Nathaniel, aka the Djinn, and he asks him, so like, you got a girlfriend? oh no, you got a boyfriend, you sly faggot. And I thought, that's interesting. Why did he jump to that really fast?
What about the when the prison guard says you're a naughty little girl and daddy's gonna teach you some respect?
I know. I was like, wow, you guys love each other. This is hot and heavy. And he was like, yeah, I just want 2 minutes alone to slow dance with you in hell. And I was like, whoa, get a room.
What is slow dance even like a code for? Does that mean beat the shit out of you or? Yeah,
I think it means beat you up.
Okay.
With sex. I think that's what that is. What else? Oh yeah, there was like a very explicitly homophobic but also homoerotic moment where the Jin is first being held in the prison cell, and this like tough guy says, how about yeah, and he's like, the Jin asks him, what do you want? And he's like, I want your tight yuppie ass. And I was like, you're saying it with a homophobic like tone, but the words are very sexual.
My question about that was, is this county jail? Because like, isn't he awaiting trial at that point? So, I mean, is
crazy. Yeah.
County jail really that like rough,
And also like, yeah, and it reminded me of the beginning too, where they're stealing something from an art gallery and the prison guard, the security guards are shooting to kill. They're shooting to kill the people stealing paintings, which I think seems like overkill to me. But yeah,
I think a taser or some pepper spray would be
or a phone, call the cops. You're
more appropriate. Guard. Absolutely, I agree.
Yeah, or if you're gonna shoot the leg. Even I know that. So that was a homophobic but homoerotic moment. There's a line I've written down: "Don't fuck with me, bitch. I'll fuck up your life, cocksucker," which of course can just be read as purely homophobic. But why does it have to be a cocksucker? To me, a little bit of homoeroticism in that. Someone says, I'm going to own your ass, which seems to me more like a date request than a violent threat. But would it be okay with you if I got to what I consider to be the gayest scene in this film?
Yeah, I have a pretty good idea of what that's going to be, but please take it away, my friend.
Thank you. So there's a moment where the Jin is in the yard of the prison and he wants to prove to one of the prisoners that he's got magic powers.
Robert Lasardo, yes.
Is that the prisoner?
Oh, okay. Yeah, Robert Lasardo, the guy with the like head to toe tattoos.
Yes, yes. And so his wish is that his lawyer would fuck himself, because I guess the lawyer like screwed him over with whatever happened, and he wants to see his lawyer fuck himself, and he gets to see that happen. So a minute later, the prison guards take him away and it's like, your lawyer's here. And we're like, uh-oh, this is not good. And he goes and he starts talking to the lawyer, and the lawyer's like, I'm gonna get you out. I think I know what I need to do. And then all of a sudden the lawyer's legs fold up backwards and there is an explicit sex scene of this man having sex with himself and giving like, and it's all on the face too. So this is a sex scene where like you're seeing this man's response to being penetrated
by himself.
So like, of course I guess that's kind of masturbation, but no, it felt like a gay sex scene, but with one person.
Not only that, he's moaning in ecstasy.
He loves it, which is like weird. His legs are broken.
He does not appear to be someone that is not enjoying what's going on. He seems to be loving every minute of it.
Yeah, and it was kind of framed. Listen, I'm not saying that this scary scene was hot, but it was framed kind of sexually, right? Like, yeah, you're getting a lot of like gay sex face. You're seeing the thrusting, and it's prolonged. Sorry, Mom, I hope you're not watching this, but yeah, that to me, I would say, is the gayest scene in this movie. Would you agree?
100%. It's I mean, that's not gay subtext. That's gay text.
That's gay text. And I was thinking, like, if his legs are broken up backwards, how is he sustaining an erection?
I don't know, but I have to say that we might be like putting too much. We might be putting too much like, more thought than the screenwriter did into some of this stuff.
Well, see, this is what we're bringing to the table for Pride Month at Dread Central. You're welcome. Would you? So now that we've mentioned all of this stuff, would you say this movie feels queer to you, or is it all accidental?
I don't know. I think that Most of the queer content, I think, stems from the screenplay, similar to Nightmare 2, which makes me kind of wonder if, someone else maybe pulled one over on Jack's shoulder, and he just once again was like, I had no idea.
His agent is gay. That's got to be it. He's got an agent.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
That would explain a lot.
It would explain a lot. Maybe one of these days we can ask him, because he does seem at this point to fully accept his gay legacy. So
the gay legacy of Nightmare 2.
Right.
I don't know that he's ever publicly spoken to Wishmaster 2, because I think that, I don't know, I didn't do a lot of poking around on the internet, but, you're the first person I've had this conversation with. It's not a part of the, collective pop culture pantheon like Nightmare 2 is. So we're kind of breaking new ground here, as we tend to do.
I really think that we are, Tyler. I'm not even kidding. And I hope that in 10 years from now, Wishmaster 2 is seen as a gay movie.
And we'll be the pioneers of that school of thought.
We'll teach a class on it at UC Sunnydale. So yeah, I think we're okay to head into conclusion territory. Gayness aside, how do we feel about Wishmaster 2 now?
I like it. It's my second favorite Wishmaster movie, for what that's worth.
I haven't seen 3 or 4, and you were saying you don't necessarily recommend it, but I think
you don't need to. You're not missing much. I think the gin changes in the third movie. Andrew Diboff, or Divoff, apologies for butchering his name, wrote a screenplay for the third installment that was never produced. And I think the reason it was never produced is because he wrote too expensive of a film to be shot on a direct-to-video budget. But I find that kind of fascinating. And I think that might have been why he backed out of the project, is because they didn't want to, make his movie. I could be speaking out of turn on that, but something that rings a bell.
That's really cool. And people may not be aware, but I host a podcast here at Dread Central called Development Hell, where we dig up horror movies that never got made. And if what you're saying is true, that would make for a spectacular episode.
What I'm saying is definitely true about him writing a script like that. He has said in an interview. I'm just not positive if that's the reason why he backed out of playing the djinn. But the first part is not, I think this happened. Like that's definitely
it's
true.
Real. I'd love to get my hands on that at some point. If you had to give it a rating out of 5, what would you give this movie?
Somewhere between a 2.5 and a 3, I think. Like a 2.5, just straight across the board in terms of quality, probably, but I bump it up to a 3 because it's kind of fun. And I think that there's something to be said for that. Like, movies should be enjoyable, and I enjoy it. So, I'm willing to score it a little higher than it probably deserves on that basis.
Tyler, before we head out and I find out where to find you online, I'm just wondering, is there any recent articles of yours on Dread Central that we need to check out that might have made a splash recently?
Well, I did a column entry on My Name is Bruce, and that was really a fun piece to write, and people seem to respond to it really positively. I just think it's kind of an underseen, underappreciated film, and I think it deserves its moment in the spotlight, with the unbearable weight of massive talent making a big splash, because, Bruce Campbell kind of did it years before Nicolas Cage did, and no one really made a fuss about it. And I would like people to make a fuss about it. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, and I mean, I think I recall Bruce sharing this article on Twitter. Am I wrong?
No, you're not.
That's fucking cool.
Oh, well, I mean, I will say that my heart swelled when that happened. So thank you for taking notice and calling it out, because I love it.
Oh, anytime Bruce engages with Dread Central, I am thrilled and very excited to see. Tyler, where can people find you on the internet?
Well, I am on Twitter and Instagram as @funwithhorror, and Facebook, I am facebook.com/funwithhorror, because I like to keep it simple.
I love it. And thank you to everyone for watching. Thank you for tuning in to Dread Central's Pride content. There's going to be a lot of it. It's going to be really weird, like what you saw today, and we don't apologize. So yeah, happy Pride Month, everyone.